Welcome. My name is Suzette Spencer, and I am the Director of Library and Information Services here at Montgomery College. I've been with the college exactly 6 months to the day, and I'm excited to be here working and collaborating with such an awesome group of people. I moved to Maryland from Florida, 6 months ago, and so although I'm a Northeast girl, giving up Florida for 15 years and to move here, I'm excited because I'm tired of sweating. And I'm looking forward to the change of seasons. But also while I was in Florida, I was heavily involved with the League of Women Voters, the chapter down there, as it relates to the library and being able to present opportunities to share, this information with the public, keeping everyone informed about letting their vote be their voice. And so we wanted to present these nonpartisan information sessions to the Montgomery College community so everyone can be informed and be up to date about what is going to take place in the coming weeks. And so I have with me two awesome advocates for the League. I have Marge Wexler, who joined the League about 6 years ago. She's currently the voter registration coordinator for the Montgomery County League. And in this position, she has coordinated voter registration drives in the colleges, correctional facilities, festivals, markets, senior housing, wherever people will gather, she's going to be there to share this information. She's also serving on the committee that writes the Voters Guide, and she has also participated in other written publications that the League offers. And also with us, we have Judy Cochran. Judy joined the League about 9 years ago, and she's currently appointed to the Board of Directors overseeing student outreach for the college students. And she also serves on the membership committee. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for taking your time out to join us and share some valuable information with us about the deadlines that are forthcoming, how you can vote, certainly where you can find any additional information, not only about the presidential race, but then also any local races that are happening that we should be informed of. So at this time, I'll turn it over to you to take the floor. So ladies, take it away.
Okay, well, my name is Marge Wexler. I'm here with Judy Cochran. Judy, I'm not sure what part you want, but you just join in if you want to add anything as we go along. Does that work for you, or is there something you want to say up front? Just about.
No, I think at the end, I'll remind everyone about the vote411.org and our voters guides for additional.
Great.
And ladies, both of you have sharing rights. So if you need to share your screens, you have permissions to do so.
Good. Well, thank you all for joining us. This is really an important election for everyone. This has been a really crazy year, especially in the elections, both in the primary and now in the general election. Things have just changed dramatically. It seems like month to month, week to week. As participating in writing of the Voters Guide, we had to keep rewriting it because things were changing. And so luckily we were able to get it out in time and hopefully with no mistakes. So again, thank you all for being here. I'm going to go over today things like a little bit about registration, then the application for the ballots, then the actual ballots themselves, and voting both by mail and in person, as well as going over a little bit about the ballot questions. So I'm not sure, I mean, you can text, or sometimes if you've got a question that takes a long time, maybe we could just allow people to ask that question, if that works for you, Suzette, because sometimes it just takes a long time and it's hard for me to read as we go along.
Sure.
So whatever works. We're a small group, so I think we can sort of be flexible on this. So registration, I am guessing by now you all are registered to vote. But if you aren't, or if you have students or people ask you about registration, the important thing to do, to know, is that registration closes October 13th. That is the important date. Now, one of the things that I'd like to share with you right away is the way to check to see whether or not you're registered and if you have the right address. So I'm going to share my screen. The way you can get to the screen is on any of the website, but the easiest way is to simply text the word check to 77788. When you get this voter lookup, and this is a real, I'll come back to this later, but you just have to write your name, your date of birth, and this is your zip code. And it will show you your address. As you can see, it has my name, my address, my party affiliation, and my registration date on it. And that's really good for anybody who's not sure if they're registered and not sure if they updated their registration. As you know, the registration, and I'll come back to this later, the registration form is really important to have the right address. Otherwise, you are not getting the right ballot for where you live. So that's a place where you can just simply check your registration to see whether or not they've got it. This was especially important for people who said, I didn't get, this year the Board of Elections sent everyone out an application for a mail-in ballot. And some people didn't get it. And one of the things we suggested is that if they didn't get that, their address may be wrong. The other thing that might have happened is some people before the primary asked for a mail-in ballot, both for the primary and for the general. And then they forgot they ordered it for the, so if you ordered it to ask for it at the primary for both the primary and the general, they were not going to send you another application. So in case anyone brings that up, remind them that they should need to go and find out. Or remember that they probably, and by this time they would have, if they had asked for it, they would have already received their mail-in ballot. The other thing about registration is that if somebody hasn't registered by the 13th of October, they can always register in person. If you're registering for the first time, you can register in person during early voting and on election day. If you need to update your registration, you can also do that during early voting only. You cannot do it on general election day. So if you haven't done it by the 13th, or you know somebody that hasn't done it, they have the opportunity after the 13th at early voting to register for the first time and change their address if they need to, if they've already registered, or they can register for the first time on election day. So I guess there are no questions about that, right, that I see.
So the deadline for early voting to register is October 13th. That's the deadline, right?
Right, is the 13th of October. So there's still plenty of time for people who haven't registered. You can register online.
Right.
You can download the application online and bring it to the Board of Elections or mail it to the Board of Elections. Although these days, I would not mail it. I would, because we don't have a lot of time. It needs to be postmarked. It has to be there. They have to, so that I would bring it to the Board of Elections if you're doing it by mail, but it's much easier to just do it online. Then there's no issue.
Right.
And I'm sure most people are able to do that.
Okay.
But certainly you have the option of doing that.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I misread the question in the chat. The question was about early voting, not registration, but I know you ladies will get to that. Yes.
The important thing is for anybody who is registering for the first time at early voting or on election day to make sure they bring ID and proof of their address, a gas bill, utility bill, Pepco, or something like that. That's really important to do. But it's going to, we expect there's going to be a lot of people. We don't have as many polls, and so we don't have as many poll workers. So to the extent possible, we're really trying to encourage people to do this before and not to do it on election day, because that will take a lot more time. Okay, so then let's go on to the voting process. This year, again, you're going to have the same opportunities we have every year. You can vote by mail. They call it mail-in voting now. It's the same as absentee voting, but they've changed that. I am not sure why, but it seems to be prevalent in the country now to call it mail-in ballot. I would suggest that maybe there were states that you still aren't able to vote by mail-in or absentee unless you have a good reason. You're sick, you're going to be away, and so on. Maryland has had no excuse needed for a long time, but now we're calling it mail-in, but it is the same as absentee ballot. So this year, everyone got an application for a mail-in ballot, and that had to be returned. It will have to be returned and received. This is the important thing. It must be received by the Board of Elections by October 20th, not postmarked, received. So you can, if you haven't done it yet, you can apply online, and that's probably the easiest because then it's received early. But if you're doing it, if you're downloading the application or you have the application at home, then the important thing to do is to either return it. You can return it directly to the Board of Elections. They have a Dropbox that accepts mail-in applications. And I would suggest you do that. There's still time to get it there and received by October 20th. Now, if worse comes to worse, and you want to vote by mail, and you haven't applied by October 20th, I have been assured that you can go into the Board of Elections and ask them for a mail-in application, fill out the mail-in application, and then you will get a mail-in ballot. You can vote your ballot and turn it in right there. So that's if you haven't done any of the stuff you needed to, that's what you can do, or you can suggest to somebody if they thought they really wanted to vote in person, but then they started feeling, maybe I don't want to, and I've changed my mind, but it's too late to get the mail-in ballot there or too late to apply. That's the final option. You can go directly to the Board of Elections, which is right there about a half a mile north of Costco. Same side as Costco is. It's kind of tricky there, but there is a sign that said, if you're going, I guess, north or west, I'm not sure what that direction is, from Rockville toward the Costco, it's on the right, and there's a sign that said second right, Board of Elections, and you look like you're going into a car dealership. So you have to go sort of up the hill and make a left turn, and the Board of Elections is on your left. So that's the final thing you can do with the mail-in. I don't know if there are any questions. I mean, many of you probably have already done the mail-in. Are there any questions about your mail-in application? I know there were a number of questions that I've had before about, well, what about if I am living somewhere, but I'm not going to be here to get my ballot? So there, on the mail-in application, there is an opportunity, and I will take a moment to share my screen again. So, okay, so what you can see is you can put this is your residential address here. But if you want it, you can write, I want my my mail-in ballot to go, and you have an opportunity to click the address below. So you want to write your residential address so that you get the correct ballot for where you live, but the ballot itself will be sent to this address if you're not going to be home. And this is especially a lot of college students are asking for this. If they don't live. Now, we are also strongly advising not to ask for internet delivery because there's an option for internet delivery right here. We're asking not to do that because when the Board of Elections gets your ballot, when you get your ballot and then you print it at home and you send it back, they have to copy it to special paper so that they can tally it. It doesn't, your paper won't work in their counting machines. So it takes a lot more time and effort to do that. So unless there's a good reason that you need to have internet delivery, we strongly advise not to do that.
The mail-in ballot also comes with a postage paid return envelope.
Yes.
And if you do the internet, you have to make sure you have to put it in your own envelope. And by the way, the ballots have already, they're already being counted, but they won't be tallied till election night itself. So anyone, the Board of Election is urging people to send their ballots in early to not overwhelm everyone. And people are doing that, as we know, right here.
So let's say, assuming you've applied for your ballot and everyone's got their ballot. Now, I received my ballot about a week ago or so, and many people have. If you haven't received your ballot, and we'll go back to this one thing that I did want to show you all. When you can go down here and look, it says status of my mailed in or provisional ballot. Now, what they said, they have received my ballot. When, so that I know, and I also happen to today just get an email saying we've received your ballot. But so this is new. Up until recently, what they said is we've received your application. Then I got something that said ballot sent. And now I have something that says ballot received. So this is a way you can check the status of what's going on. So when you get your ballot, your mail-in ballot, you will want to, the first thing you want to do is look for the voters guide. The League of Women Voters, we just published this and it was printed last week and we just got them last Thursday and Friday. Now, the problem is we have not a lot of place to get them. We're trying to find a way that we can get some of these to the libraries. And I don't know if there's a place at Montgomery College to bring them. I don't know, Suzette, if there's any place that people could pick them up. But you can certainly get them on, you can get it in English and in Spanish online. And you can go to the League of Women Voters website. It's very easily very intuitive to see. Just click on that. And in the voter's guide, you'll be able to find not only just the general information about voting, but you'll be able to find all of the, it says on the ballot. And on the ballot, it will have the names of the candidates and questions that the league posed to the candidates and their answers exactly as they provided them to us. We did not change them in any way. We let all the spelling mistakes stay. We let all the grammar mistakes stay, but they are exactly as provided. If you see something where you don't see an answer from some candidates and you do see answers from other candidates, it's because they did not get them into us. Now, some of them may be a little bit late, and if they came after our printing deadline, you'll be able to find that in Vote 411.
In your voter's guides, you'll see that there's a very, very important change, is that the previous elections, you, on the day of election day, you had to vote in the precinct that you were assigned. This is a change. You can vote at any of the voting sites that are open around the county on election day. And there are the same during early voting, which again is October 26th up through election day. The early voting sites, you can go to any one that is convenient for you. And the voting sites are listed. They are going to include the county high schools, as well as some of the community centers, but you need to familiarize yourself with them. Again, it doesn't, you're not bound to go to your precinct, your assigned precinct that you used to be. So you won't have to do a provisional ballot.
So when you get your ballot, first of all, the Board of Elections would like you to fill it in black ink. I had a question, actually, in my neighborhood, like email group. Somebody said they were using like a magic marker and bled through, and they called the Board of Election. The Board of Election said that was fine, not to worry about it. But we suggest black ink, not to make any unusual marks on your ballot. Do not sign the ballot. If you get when you get your ballot online, if you should get the ballot online, in other words, print it online, for whatever reason, you're getting it online and you print it out, there is a separate piece of paper that you must sign. It's your oath. You must sign and date it. And when you return it, that piece of paper with your signature must be included in your envelope. These are people that are printing the ballot online only, not the ones you're going to get in the mail. But it's important that you include that oath in the return envelope. For those people who are getting the ballots by mail, it's important that you sign the envelope. If you don't sign the envelope, your ballot will not count. Again, do not sign the ballot. And let me go back. For those people who are getting it online, because I'd forgotten that I asked for it online. When you sign, you can either, here's my little thing. You can either, if you can print the envelope will look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you will notice it has a specific number right here. If you print the envelope. If you don't print the envelope, then you use a regular envelope. Your oath, that little sheet that I told you that has an oath on it, will have a number on it. You need to take that number, and it tells you very clearly, and write it on the outside of your envelope. And the directions are very clear, but a lot of people don't read directions. So it's important that you write here, they want you to write ballot enclosed, and they want you to write this number. So they give you this as a sample, so it's very easy to look at it, but this is important, that the signature is very important. So for those of you using the regular ballot, the important thing is, as I said, sign the outside of the envelope. You're going to get it when you vote your ballot, and again, vote your ballot, and if it says vote for 4, there's no need to vote for 4. If you only vote for 3, that's fine. Just don't vote for more than, as soon as you vote for more than they ask for, then none of that's going to count. So that's one of the things you do. So then you're going to take your ballot, put it in an inner envelope, and you're going to sign the outside of that envelope. Again, if you don't sign the outside of that envelope, it won't count. And then you're going to take that envelope and you're going to put it in and seal it and put it in an envelope to the Board of Elections. Now, people have asked, can somebody else take my ballot for me to a Dropbox or to the mailbox? And the answer is yes. There is nothing that legally that precludes anyone from taking the ballots for you. And I know in certain senior communities, they are bringing a number of them together. But the only suggestion we have is don't give it to someone you don't know, and make sure before you give it that it's sealed. Any questions about that?
So there are a few questions about the envelope itself. So who signs the envelope? You sign it as the voter, right?
Now that's an interesting thing, because there have been some rumors around that someone has to witness it.
Right. I heard
that. I know Virginia had that rule and they took it away. They got rid of it. And Maryland does not have that. No one has to witness it. The only person, if you've asked for help and someone is helping you to fill out your ballot, then they have to sign that as a helper. But nobody has to witness that you signed your ballot. Any other questions that you see?
Nope, I've been dropping the links in the chat as you have mentioned certain things. So the polling locations and the like.
I'm going to get to those in a minute. So your ballot has to be received your ballot has to be postmarked by November 3rd. Now you can drop it in the Dropbox, and that must be received by 8 p.m. on election day. So you can drop it in any Dropbox by November 3rd, anytime by November 3rd, 8 p.m. If you mail it, it must be postmarked by November 3rd. However, it must be received by, and I checked this today, by November 13th at 10 a.m. So they give you a grace period for it. It still has to be postmarked by November 3rd, but it may not be received by your local Board of Elections and on November 3rd. But as long as it's received by 10 a.m. on November 13th, it will count. Now they're giving you a long period of time after. Don't wait till November 3rd to put it in the mail, is the bottom line. Do it earlier. We are stressing throughout, the earlier the better. And as Judy said, they are counting the ballots. Maryland got permission. They had to do a special thing to start counting them October 1st. Now, Montgomery County is doing it. The last I heard, they were going to actually start counting them on the 19th of October in Montgomery County, but I'm not sure. The point is they're going to be counted early. So earlier the better, so we don't worry on election night what Maryland did. Any questions about that? Okay, so you can, as I said, that takes care of the mailing. Make sure to get it in. You can drop it off at these drop boxes, and on the Board of Elections website, you will see it. Now I can share it, but it's real easy to tell you about it. So this is from the this is the Board of Elections website in Montgomery County. And you can see it is in English and in Spanish. And you can see all of these drop boxes were available for use. These three started from between September 28th and 30th. All of these drop boxes were added. And then on October 1st, this one in Tacoma Park was added. And then by October 15th, all of these were added. So all the many of the, not all, Many of the high schools will have them starting October 15th, and then October 22nd through the 24th, all of these will be available for use. So by October 24th, you're going to have a huge selection of drop boxes around the county to use. And again, you can access this on the Montgomery County Board of Elections website. They're not all available now, but they will become available sort of incrementally. Part of that had to do with they were ordered, and as we got them in and as we were able to install them, they went ahead and installed them. And of course, there's always one at the Board of Elections directly across. It looks from the Board of Elections website. Any questions about that? Okay, now remember the dates to remember there. They have to be in drop boxes by November 3rd, 8 p.m. That is the end of voting. Now that's when it closes officially. Of course, if you go for in-person voting, as I understand it, if you are in line by 8 p.m., however long that line is going to be, you will be able to vote. And do remember, it's going to be 6 feet apart. So the line's going to look very long, probably longer than it will actually take. So again, earlier the better. So if
yeah, I just wanted to add, because people have been confused, you can still mail it in and bring it to a post office. It's not, it's not in, the post office is still an option.
It is an option. Just make sure you mail it, and the post office was saying mail it by the 26th or 27th of October.
That's right.
It would get postmarked. Right. So again,
plenty of time.
And yeah, we feel like it's totally safe and good to mail it, but not wait till the last minute to mail. So now we get to, well, first of all, a couple other things I want to, if you make a mistake on your ballot, you have to call the Board of Elections. What about, and the Board of Elections phone number is 240-777-8500. 240-777-8500. Now, one of the things that we've been doing at the League is we have a voter hotline. And in speaking to some people on the hotline, they said they were trying for days to get through the board to the Board of Elections. So be prepared if you have a question, but that's really the only way to handle it if you make a mistake on your ballot. They're just, you can understand the reason that they have to do this one by one. Let's say you get your ballot and you wanted to vote by mail, then decided at the end you'd rather vote in person. The way to do that is go take your ballot. You can either take your ballot or not take your ballot. When you get to the in-person voting, either during early voting on election day, you will be asked to vote a provisional ballot because they have to make sure that you didn't vote your absentee ballot and then are coming to vote your ballot in person. Your ballot will count. They have a special area where they will have provisional ballots. You will fill out your ballot. They will put it in a special bag and then they'll reconcile it just to make sure. If it were me and I changed my mind, I would bring my ballot with me just to show them maybe that will do it and you won't have to vote provisionally. I am not sure, but from what I understand, the Board of Elections saying if you change your mind, you're going to have to vote a provisional ballot. So just want to tell you, because that's going to happen. I've spoken to some people who say they really want that voting experience. They want to go in and vote in person. So I just wanted to let you know that. So for those, speaking of voting in person, as Judy said, in-person early voting is the 26th through November 2nd, followed by November 3rd, Election Day. The difference this year used to be that early voting was for a week period, and then there were like 4 days in between after the end of early voting and Election Day. Not so this year, and the reason is that previously you voted at early voting centers. And as Judy said, and then on election day, you voted at your precinct. So they had to take and the early voting centers were closed on election day. So they had to take all of those early voting machines and move them. They needed 4 days to transfer everything from one place to another. This time, the early voting centers will stay open on election day. So they're going to be there through the November 2nd, and then on November 3rd, all those early voting centers will continue to be open, along with all of the other, I think there will be a total of 39 centers open on election day. And as Judy said, you can go anywhere. You don't have to go to any particular one. They will have all the ballots for all the precincts at every voting center. Any question about that? Remember, these hours are 7. That's the difference. They're 7 to 8. Usually during early voting, it was 8 to 8. This year, it's going to be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. throughout the early voting. Remember, if you are registering for the first time at early voting, make sure to bring your ID. So let me just recap a couple of important things. One is October 13th is the last day to register online unless you register in person at early voting or on election day. October 20th is the last day for your mail-in application to be received by the Board of Elections, unless you go after that directly to the Board of Elections, where, as I said, you could request your ballot and so on. October 22nd through November 2nd, early voting. November 3rd is election day. Ballots must be received by November 13th, but postmarked by November 3rd. And your dropping off your ballot must happen by November 3rd, 8 p.m. So I think that's all that I have. Judy, do you have something you would like to add, other than, is anybody interested in hearing a little bit about the ballot questions? I'm not sure if there's an interest, but I would suggest the ballot questions, there are 2 from the state and 4 in Montgomery County. The voter's guide really does explain them in plain English. It gives you what it means if you vote yes on something or vote no on something. It gives you the pros and cons. Of course, it's your decision. The league doesn't recommend one or the other. As we said, the league is nonpartisan. But the ones from the state, one deals with the authority of the legislature to change it, to move money from one pot to another. Right now, they don't have, even though they have to stay within a certain cap of money, they can't add money in addition, but it would give them the opportunity to move it, let's say, from education to transportation and so on. They didn't have the authority to do that. That's a general gist. I'm just giving you the general gist of it. The other one deals with the opportunity for Maryland to participate in sports betting, which we don't have now. I mean, Maryland has the opportunity for off-cap betting, I think, and table games and slots, but not voting on sports games, on athletics. So that's, and you can read about the pros and cons of that. Those are the 2 state. In Montgomery County, the first 2 deal with how your property taxes, whether or not the rate of your property taxes are changed and what it's dependent upon. Now, this is a little bit complicated. I'm going to try to do this quickly. Currently, let's say, I'm going to just make this very easy. Let's say there were 5 houses in Montgomery County. And the revenue for those property taxes equaled $50,000 in 2019. 5 houses, the revenue from those property taxes together equaled $50,000, let's say. That was in 2019. The next year, the way it is now, the revenue from those 5 houses can't exceed the same as they were the year before. But if property values go up or down, your rate goes up and down. The rates for everyone stays the same, but the rate goes up and down so that they can figure out that the revenue will be exactly the way it was the year before. Does that make sense? Am I trying, they have to be no more than the revenue from the year before. So that means your rate goes up and down depending upon the value of your house, right? That's the way it is now. It's a so you don't know from year to year what your rate will be. The way they want to change it, and there are other iterations of that because there are lots of things that are excluded. The way they want to change it is to say they want to use they want to keep if your property tax is 5% this year, your property tax would be 5% next year. Your rate stays the same. But of course it might go up and down depending upon the value of your property. So it's only, so from year to year, you would know from year to year what the rate you're paying is, but of course, again, depending upon the appraisal value of your property, it would change. So that's what the general tax thing is. I mean, if you read it in the voter's guide, you can read a little bit more about it, what's excluded, etc. And then, of course, for those, the whole county council has to approve any change in revenue. So that's always part of it. But it's just the way, since almost all counties go by the rate, not by the revenue altogether, they want to make it like that. People will know more about what their rate's going to be from year to year. And there's another another ballot question about that says the county council can't ever change it. It's going to stay the way it is, and nobody's rate can ever change, and the revenue cap can never change. That's another thing on the ballot as well. So you can read, you'll make a choice of one or the other, or neither. And then the other 2 on the county, on the ballot, have to deal with how the county council is comprised. The way it is comprised now, I think there are 7 districts, and every citizen gets to vote for 1 county council person from his or her district, and there are 4 at-large candidates. There's been a lot of concern that hasn't been changed for decades. And there are a lot of people up county that say they're not getting enough representation. So they want to expand the number. That one of the ballot question deals with expanding the number of councils from 7 to 9, and then keeping the at-large candidates. The other measure is saying no more at-large candidates, expanded to 11 districts only. Everybody gets to vote for 1 county council member in their particular district. So fewer people per district, and then they feel, the people who are proponents of it feel they'll have more of a say-so because everybody will have their own, but everybody will get to vote for 1. Under the other proposal, everyone gets to vote for 1 through their district plus 4 at-large members. So again, I really suggest you read there's lots of articles in the paper, there's lots of things if you Google, but be aware if you're reading it from a candidate, you're going to get one perspective. The voter's guide tries to give you a very fair perspective and explanation of what about. So Judy, Cynthia, welcome. Cynthia is another one of our league members. Do anybody have anything to add?
I also wanted to let you know, you can take paper material, you can take the voters' guides into the voting booth. If you're voting in person, you cannot take electronic devices, but you can take information that you've received, and it can be partisan or nonpartisan as the league's information is, but they are very strict about no, you can't, take your phone and start looking at it.
I think the Board of Elections also sent everyone a sample ballot.
Ballot, right.
So that you can certainly take that in as well. Well, Suzette, thank you
Yes,
so much.
everyone is well informed, which is good.
I mean, it just because we're so used to doing it one way, and now everything sort of changed. And there are lots of little things, again, you don't sign it, you do, that could screw up your ballot. And we are really wanting everybody to vote early, and everybody's vote to count.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, we do have a voter hotline. We have a voter hotline in Spanish as well.
Do you have this?
There it is.
Yeah.
Voter hotline, Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. And the Spanish hotline is Tuesday and Thursdays only, 10 to 6. Both of them will be 7 days a week through November 3rd.
I don't know if it was mentioned, Marge, but that the voter guide itself is available online in both English and Spanish.
Yes.
And there's some copies of the voter guide, the Spanish version, that are being distributed through El Tiempo Latino in those orange boxes that you see on the street if you want it in person. But the voter guide online has a lot more information, I would have to say, in it than the paper version. So I would encourage people to avail themselves of that resource as well.
Some of we asked more questions that are in the printed guide, and we didn't have room. So all of that is available online.
So I just had a quick question regarding if somebody wanted to get involved with the League of Women Voters, sorry. How could one do that?
You can email me. The league offers free membership for students, and we'd be delighted to talk with you and have you get involved. So my email, I guess I can type it right here.
I can also write it down if that works better.
Okay, it's Judy Cochran 12 at yahoo.com.
Hi, I just want to tell everyone thank you. You were wonderful, and I'm very, I had a lot of questions and they were all answered. Thank you so much.
Great. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing all of this information. When you think you know everything and you really don't, it just takes, having the conversation and information sharing to realize how much more informed you are after a session like this. So thank you so much for taking the time out to share this information with the MC community. Reach out to the Board of Elections of Montgomery County, and all of the information is on their website, as well as the website of the League of Women Voters. They're doing everything within their power to keep everyone informed, and it's up to us to let our vote be our voice. So with that, I will close out. And again, thank you everyone for attending.